All good. All right, guys, thanks for jumping on. Looks like we have, about 100 or so on here now. So a few more people will trickle in. All right, Sammy, go ahead to the next one. We're going to go over a couple announcements first, and then we're going to do some awesome training with Mahmoud. So this week we had 1,230 families help total. New first lot, actually, first week that Mike Schroeds and company have been #1 agency. 445 families helped. Josh Rose, 291. Easton, 287. Juan Franco, 264. They're growing like crazy. And then Wiley Hawkins, 237. They're growing like crazy too. All the agents who were over 10 families helped for the week. Juan Franco, 93. Chris L, 45. Alejandro Perez, 40. Keith, that's 38. That's what this says. My eyesight's getting bad. Clint, 24. Divine, 24. Daniel, 24. Jake Conan, 23. Herman, 20. Miranda Peters, 20, as always. Mo, 18. Brittany Jarrett, 17. John Shield, 17. On, 17. Brian Turner, 16. Sebastian Hart, 15. Sebastian, we're going to get you on this call next time, I think. He helped 37 families his first month, so we got to get him on here. Mahmoud, who's on today with us, 14. Mike Schroeds, 14. Brian Holden, 13. Jake Beavers, 13. All right, so a couple quick announcements. We have business opportunity meetings coming up this next week. Please visit the Family First Life Instagram, Facebook page to see which one is nearest to you. We will be having one in Denver. Mike File will be here. And so Mike File is a board member. He's going to be an integrity partner shortly. He's sold a ton of insurance, has a lot of experience. So anyone that's in Denver and Colorado, please get your agency here. Support Mike, bring a bunch of people, let him help you guys grow your team, because that's what he's going to do. And that's what he's going to be here for. Sammy, someone said it says waiting for host on there. Do you have any idea why? Interesting. Okay, well, I'll figure it out. I think they have to be logged in, right? All right, cool. All right, so the business opportunity meeting, please get to one near you. And everyone who even sells a lot or is a sales manager, senior sales manager, board, whatever you are, if you can get to those meetings, it would really help out, because then we can have you help out with training and help support people there and bring new agents. I think that's the point of this. And I was talking to some agents last week, and they were like, Trey Honeycutt told me, he's like, sometimes I needed to go to the meeting just to rehire myself after a bad week. And then sometimes I had a really good week and I needed to be there to support everyone else who had a bad week. So, this is how we grow camaraderie. I want everyone to please make a conscious effort to get to whatever meeting is closest to you, and go out and support, whoever's going to be there. I'll be in Charleston. I know Easton's going to be in Wichita, Kansas, I believe. I know Dario is going to be in Cincinnati. So we have people all over the place. So please get out, support everyone, and be there. August 25th, we're going to have Mike Sasaki, who is Vice President of Marketing with AIG. I believe he's going to be hosting a live training in the Denver office. He'll be on this call 2 weeks from now to go over some updates on their new product. A couple of things on that. Sammy, I don't know if you have the slide for that one. We have a couple new carrier partnerships. AIG, a lot of you know, for the guaranteed issue product. Probably a lot of people don't know. The AIG has a simplified issue whole life product now. There's the slide. We can send this all out to you. It has underwriting guides and everything like that. So we'll blast out to everyone. But the couple highlights that I found from them is their top compensation is really high. I think they go up to 130% for their final expense whole life. And again, this is separate from the guaranteed issue. It's an entirely different product. But if you go to the same website that you would go to write the guaranteed issue policy, you can also find the AIG simplified issue whole life policy. So it's 100% instant decision. If it gets graded as opposed to preferred, you get paid the same amount as the agent. The clients can pay with a credit, debit, direct express card and still receive an advance. And there is an option to have a paid up policy for them. So once they pay in a certain amount, they don't have to pay on the policy anymore. So again, if I were an agent, I think I would lead with Americo. I like their, systems and processes, easy to get people approved. And then I would try AIG next, again, because it's 100% instant decision. And our goal is to help as many families as possible and get them coverage on the spot so that they know they have coverage right away. So again, AIG, simplified issue whole life. If you go to the same website you're accustomed to going to, you'll see 2 links on there, one for the guaranteed, one for the simplified issue one. Next thing is Ethos. I don't know if we have, here, come back to that one in a second, Sammy. People can look at that while we're doing this, but I don't know how many of y'all have heard of Ethos or know Ethos at all. We are currently setting up a partnership with them. Our agency, along with Andrew Taylor's agency, are piloting the program. So what's important with this is Ethos has a very simple way where you can email a link that is associated with your agent code to all of your current clients, all of your leads that didn't buy, anyone you have an email for, or you can text them, or however you want to reach out to everyone. You can blast out to everyone, and the clients can fill out and submit an application on their own without even having to go through you at all. So again, very small percentage of people are going to do that. But if you set up something and then go up to $2 million non-medical, now the caveat is the compensation is a lot lower. But this is a really nice supplement for us to have if we want to write someone a really, really big, term policy, or you want to email blast, text blast, and reach back out to all your current clients, then they can go in and fill out a policy on their own, and you can still get paid accordingly. The compensation for that goes from, I believe it's 77.5 up to 100% is the top comp. So if you're at a 145, you'd be at 100 with this. But it's, again, so it's not going to replace what you're doing with other carriers, but it's going to be a nice addition and a nice way to pick up extra premium, from clients that want to talk to you, or they just, wanted whatever. You can just send out the link to them. So right now we're working through all of our managers and leaders getting contracted. You should see very soon an email come out about completing contracting with Ethos and Banner Life. Those are the two you'll see. Make sure you go ahead and do that. And then once everyone is contracted, we'll be able to start, utilizing and implementing this into our process. All right, Sammy, next slide. All right, so, and then for those of you who know, and again, the reason we're doing this call is sometimes not everyone knows about everything. So we want everyone to know, we did a competition for July, top 15 life producers and top 5 agencies. So top 15 life producers: Juan Franco, Mike P, Zeb F, Mahmoud N, Daniel H, Jake K, Michael H, Sebastian H, Easton P, Henry P, Greg T, Chris G, Miranda P, Jennifer L, and Tony H. And then the top 5 agencies with the most growth. So Ryan Ficker, Wiley Hawkins, Calvin Wright, Neil Brown, and Mike Schroeds. All 20 of you will be invited. We're going to have everyone, Sammy, if you want to go to the next one, we're going to have everyone come out to Breckenridge, Colorado. We're going to rent out an Airbnb that sleeps 22 people for the weekend. We're going to go do some fun stuff up in the mountains, and then we're going to be in the office on Monday doing some work, headshots, professional development, all the above. So I want everyone to know, we're going to start doing something like this either every month or every other month. We're going to start the next one beginning of September and do another retreat like this in October. So keep your eyes out for it, because I'd love to see a whole bunch of new people come to the next one. So Sammy, is that all of our announcements? Oh yeah, business overview meetings. Again, you can go to the Family First Life website, familyfirstlife.com, Instagram, Facebook, find all that stuff. Good on there? Perfect. All right, if you can put me on there and put Mahmoud on, then we'll get ripping into some training real quick. Cool. Can you make it full screen for me so I can see Mahmoud's pretty face? Mahmoud, how we doing, man?
I'm doing awesome, bro. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you getting on. And we were talking about redoing the agency call and starting to bring it up again. And I was looking through and I was like, man, who should I have on the first guest? And I was like, Mahmoud would crush it. So don't mess it up for us, man. Thank you for getting on. And I appreciate everything you're doing for us and for the company. So for those of y'all who don't know, Mahmoud, how old are you right now?
I'm 21.
You're 21. Okay. And last month you helped 52 families personally. Your agency helped 75 and be close to 100 very soon. And you've been with us for all of 6 months, right?
Correct.
So what I'd love for you, go ahead.
No, I was just saying just a little over. I think 7 months now, with it being August.
7 months. Yeah. Cool. So you're a wily veteran at this point, right? In the life insurance space. So what I'd love for you to go over to start, and really what we want to do with today's call is give everyone a couple of things that they can take and implement, that they can start doing to help them protect more families every week right away, right? I love your story background, all that stuff's great, but I think one of the major feedbacks I've heard from people is a lot of the calls are too dense on what's called fluff. I don't like fluff either, right? So let's give them some juice that they can use right away. So Mahmoud, your first month here, you did do pretty well. You came in, you asked a ton of questions. If you could give everyone who is either not where they want to be or within their first, 90 days here, what did you do to have such a quick start? And what would you, if you could give it to every agent to replicate, what would that be?
Yeah. So I think first things first, definitely be in contact with your upline. I remember my very first few appointments, I was constantly calling Wiley. I'd probably blow up his phone maybe 15, 20 times in a day. But, it was for the better. I wanted to make sure I was putting the client in the best spot. And something I learned very early was don't be afraid to invest in leads, because the more leads you have, the more chances you have to book more appointments. The more appointments you have, the more success you'll have at helping families. So don't be afraid to invest in your business. I mean, there's no other business where you can get started with $1,000, get rolling, and be profit ever since then. And
Yeah.
just don't be afraid to put in the work.
I would say one thing I noticed with you is from your first dial day, you were locked in and you were setting and dialing and setting tons of appointments, right? So what did you do? You know, how many leads do you need to have for your first dial day? And you're a new agent getting started out. What would you recommend for, you know, first dial to get started? And what did your dial day look like? How many calls did you make? You know, how did you get better on the phone? Because you weren't good on day one. You're really good now, but you weren't good your first dial day, right?
Yeah. So I would recommend having at least 120 leads up to like 150. The more, the better, you know. And just don't be afraid. Like I remember my first dial day, I was super nervous. You know, I was just looking at Wiley. He's like, "What are you doing? Pick up the phone." And then I called and I just kept calling and I started booking appointments and it just got a whole lot easier then. And then once I saw like it actually, I mean, the worst thing someone's going to tell you is no. You know, they can't hurt you or anything like that. So, I mean, as long as you put in the work and take advantage of the opportunity, you know, it's going to pay off.
And then as far as leads go, what did you do for your first dial day and what do you recommend? You know, and then we can again talk about, you know, transitioning from one lead flow to another because now your lead flow has evolved. But what did you do in the beginning as a new agent to start building cash flow to where you had more money to spend on more expensive leads?
Yeah. So I love the instance and new internet starting out. It's always been my bread and butter, but there's nothing wrong with 1 month and 3 months. If, you know, you're on a lower cash flow, I've definitely booked and sold some of those. So I did that for probably about 2-3 months. And then I started transitioning. I added a little mix of final expense mail, brand new, and those are obviously more expensive because they're brand new, fresh. And then now it's still like I'd say it's like a 70 mail run and 30% internet now. And I mean, I still like internet leads. I've written my biggest policies off of new instant internet leads.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have that lead diversity, right? Because if you have a week where you don't have any mail come in for whatever reason, or any internet leads come in, you need to have, you know, a combination of both, right? Quick announcement. Some of you all know about this, but right now we're working with a company that's creating what they call real-time leads, and so some people are piloting it right now. I think Mahmoud's one of the people piloting it, but they're going to have internet leads that are launched soon where as soon as the lead is filled out, you'll get it immediately. So you don't have to guess as to the age of that lead when it's in the CRM. And those ones are going to be $9 a piece. So we partner with a new company that's helping us do that. So that way your instant leads, like you get them right on the spot and you know that they're instant. So I think that's going to be another huge tool once we kind of get the kinks worked out on that. But that's just kind of a teaser for people moving forward. But so Mahmoud, for you, give everyone, you know, your structure on your dial day. You know, you said you have your 120 leads. Even just like the basics, right? Like, so when do you start dialing? You know, how many dials are you making in a row? Any tools you're using to assist you throughout the dial process?
Yeah. So always the night before, I always have all my leads organized in a PDF on my laptop ready to go. And my favorite way to do it, I mean, I used to start right at 7:30 on the dot, but lately it's been around like 7:45, 7:50, 8 a.m. And I dial 3 times in a row right here on my cell phone. I don't use any phone burn or anything. I actually manually dial everything. And I think that helps me a little bit staying focused because when it's dial day, I mean, I don't do anything until, you know, I got my 18, 20 appointments booked. And I just dedicate that time knowing as long as I book my appointments, I got plenty of families to see over the next few days. It's going to take care of me while I go help serve some families. So on dial days, I don't mess around. Like if someone's calling me, someone's texting me, I'm zoned into dialing. And another thing is being on live Zoom dials because, you know, that's what got me better, honestly, because a lot of the guys on All-Star are in Colorado and, you know, I live in Kentucky. So like if I said something wrong, Wiley, Sheil, or someone would be like, hey, say this instead of that. And that helped me a tremendous amount.
And then for your run days when you're dialing, where do you set the appointments? Like how far apart do you set them? You know, is it every hour and 15 minutes, or what does that timeline look like?
So I always tell them, like, say I book an appointment at 9 in the morning, I'll tell them, you know, hey, I'll be there anywhere from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Just give me that hour or so window. And
Got it. So you give everyone an hour window just so that
yeah,
you're not ahead of time running late, anything like that.
Yeah. And sometimes I still run late, which is a bad thing, but it's a good problem.
Perfect. And then, so, okay, so you're dialing every hour, hour and 15 minutes on the spot. Why don't you go through and give everyone some tips? Why don't we do one with mortgage leads, one with, internet leads, but, how do you go through, what does the verbiage look like on an appointment when you're setting, an instant internet or a 1 month or 2 or 3 month internet lead?
Yeah. So for the internet leads, I kind of use the age, like if they're over the age of 50, I'll say, should we go over a phone call real quick? Or so it's pretty
Go
much
ahead.
it's pretty much all the same verbiage. So ring ring, Zach.
Yep.
Hey Zach, it's Nasser calling you from the benefits office right here in Fayette County. We got the request you submitted for the Kentucky Final Expense and Life programs. You put your date of birth 8/10/1965. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So Zach, I was just the local manager and field underwriter assigned to your file. My job's super simple. They just make me come out there and make sure that you're not strapped to a hospital bed or anything like that for the discounted programs. They're all non-medical like you read, so there's no physicals or anything like that. Should only take about 10-15 minutes. Now, are you still working, retired, or disabled?
Retired.
Good deal. I can't wait to say that one day. Are you more of a morning or afternoon person?
Morning.
Perfect. Is there any reason why you wouldn't be home tomorrow morning around like 9-10 a.m.?
Busy. I'm pretty busy. What's this for again?
So you sent in a request for the final expense and life programs. I was just the underwriter assigned to get the information out to you.
Okay, got it. Yeah, you can. I'll probably be around in the morning tomorrow.
Perfect. And then do you have a paper and pen handy?
I can get one, and then you just kind of go into setting it from there and tying them down a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, the question for people that are doing virtual sales, doing the same thing, the phone script should be pretty much exactly the same, right? And then you're either rolling from there into a one-call close. Hey, do you have time right now? I can do it, or I can call you back at XYZ time, right? But you've done some virtual stuff, right? Does anything change for you as far as setting the appointment for the virtual people listening in?
Not necessarily. I felt like with the virtual and the phone appointments I closed, it was always better to just do them one call close. Just because I feel like if you set the appointment with them, I guess the rate for them to just not answer, not show up is going to be a lot higher than setting the appointment in the home.
Perfect. Okay, so for one call closes, you're trying to get them to do it right then and there on the spot, or you're setting a solid appointment and you're doing a couple follow-ups with them to get them either on the phone or on Zoom with you. Correct?
Yeah.
Cool. And then I know we can have someone kind of go over the whole virtual process in a week upcoming, but a lot of people use Calendly and other things like that to remind people. So phone tips that you have, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a couple of things I picked up that I took notes on is you keep the pace, very even, your tone very even. And if they give you an objection, you're just going, hey, look, I'm just trying to do my job. I got the form you sent and I need to come over and go over the information with you. What time works best, right?
Yeah. Best way to do it is just
anything else you did to get good at the phones in the beginning, or tips that helped you, get a lot stronger and have more control on the phone?
Just being consistent, honestly. It's just like any sport you're practicing for. The more reps you do, the better you'll get. And I feel like that's just how it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're setting, what's the most appointments you've ran in a week so far?
Like 55.
55. That's a lot. I've never ran 55 appointments in a week in my life before. So that's a lot. And really it's just from doing the repetition over and over again and having enough leads, right? So why don't, if you're trying to give everyone some breakdown on leads, because not all leads are created equal, and that's why the price is different, right? So if they have, 100 instant internet leads, how many of 100 are you looking to set to have a successful dial day in your opinion?
To have a successful dial day, if you really work them, down 3 times through and do that multiple times throughout the day, at least 600 to 700 dials, maybe even more, you should be able to book at least 15.
At least 15 minimum.
Yeah. If you work them and, stay consistent on it, I think you should be able to. And there's been times where out of 100 instant internet leads where I've been able to book 20, 25 appointments from them.
Cool. And it's a lot of dialing up front, right? And I know people are listening to this and going, hey, that sounds like a lot. But the nice thing is it's a good entry point into the industry because you can get a lot of leads for cheap, right? So you said, you did this for a little while, and now your dial days, in all transparency, they don't take you till 10 p.m. anymore, right? You're done probably around 1 or 2 with your 25 appointments booked. Is that fair?
Give or take.
Yeah. So, and to get to there, you just shifted your lead flow a little bit, and we kind of did it over time, right? But go over what it looked like. You started making some money. what leads did you start adding in, and how did that affect the amount of time you're spending on the phone?
Yeah. So I started factoring in some new final expense mailers. And then, I mean, that saved the time drastically. There was times where I'd be off the phone by 12, 1 o'clock by the latest. And if not, it was pretty weird. And then I started adding in some mortgages in there as well. I wish more mortgages would come in, but I'm looking out to lock out some different areas now just so I can, focus on that a little more. But I mean, I love final expense mail. They know exactly what it's for. They remember filling it out. I mean, it's a rare case where they're just like, no, I didn't do that. Or I didn't. It's like, dude, you just sent it in. Like, I'm looking at your handwriting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're running a really good, a good mixture of leads right now. So to get to your 52 families helped last month, every week, you said you're doing probably 60% mail or 70% mail and 30% internet leads, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then out of the 70% that's mail, is that, 70% of that is final expense, or what does that breakdown look like?
Yeah, I'd say about 75% is final expense.
Okay, and then 25% mortgage. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're doing this just to make sure you don't miss 30 appointments a week, right? Because I think some people have some mail or and if you don't have a diversity of leads, it's impossible to get to that 30 appointment a week mark.
Yeah.
But doing it this way, you're like, okay, I can have, 25 or 20 mortgage appointment or 20 mailer appointments, 10 internet lead appointments, and I have my full schedule from that, right?
Correct.
Perfect. All right. And then, so one thing you started doing a lot recently is you really started picking up recruiting, right? And I think one thing, especially for everyone, actually, whether you're doing virtual or in home, there's a lot of wasted time if you're someone that wants to build a business, right? And so I'd love for you to go over, kind of what you're doing to, working on building your business in between, your dial day's done, you're running appointments in the field. What are you doing with the car time or the time spent between appointments if you're doing virtual to work on, building your team and not just wasting time, just, BSing with your peers?
Yeah. So I started investing in some cold market recruiting, which it's worked pretty good so far. I think so. I've been able to hire a good amount of people as well. I remember when I was in Colorado for a Hall of Fame meeting, I asked Mark Mead a question, and he was like, if you're listening to music in the car, that's evil. I mean, he is right. Like, it's evil. So like when I'm in the car in between appointments, I'll call new agents that are in the pipeline, try and get in contact with them. And then same thing with dial day. Once that's over, I'll call all the people that had just sent in a, inquiry application to be a life insurance agent. And I'll go through that and just constantly stay in touch with them, which it's been working pretty well so far.
Cool. And then, so what you started building a business, obviously you believe in this because of how well you're doing at 21 years old, helping 50 families a month. I mean, there's not really anyone in your circle of influence that's making that kind of money, right? So, I mean, why is this something that you believe so deeply in where you want to build a business and bring other people into it? Is it so you can make more money, or you want to help, or is it kind of a mixture of both? Or, where's your mindset at as far as building a business goes?
So, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone wants to achieve financial freedom, but I mean, this opportunity is so great. It's messed up of us not to share it and teach others, because so many people are struggling, going by check to check, figuring out how to pay their next bill. And there's plenty of hard workers out there. They're just not in that right vehicle. It just goes back to that Warren Buffett, quote, if you're not in the right vehicle, you're just going to keep rowing your boat. But if you're in the right vehicle, it's going to help you get to the top a whole lot faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way you've been coachable and all that sort of stuff is really, just added. It's exciting to work with people like you who want to come in, have a good attitude. You're like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to make this a career, right? And I'd love, I mean, I don't know, people can put in the chat what they want to do when they were a little kid, but I would be willing to bet out of the couple hundred people that are on here, there was not someone who was like, hey, I want to be an insurance agent when I get older, right? But I think what's cool and what I've learned is, dude, this is a people business. I was talking to Andrew Taylor yesterday, and he was like, you know what I miss the most? I'm like, and like in regards to the field, I'm like talking to all the people and hearing all the stories and getting perspective from people on their lives, right? Like, I miss that too, and that's a beautiful part of this business. And then working with agents, it's about, our vehicle is to help people get financially free, but it's insurance is the vehicle, and you have to be a good people person and really develop those skills to be good at this business. So I don't think anyone grew up wanting to do this, but I think it's a really amazing career to get into if you take it seriously, right?
Yeah.
So then obviously you run a lot of appointments, which is great, but you're not writing 52 apps a month from, sucking in the home either. And I know early on it was kind of, you're trying to figure it out, but what are some things now, like give everyone your first 5 minutes in the house, right? Like when you get there, you sit down, how do you structure the appointment the right way so that it goes smoothly from there?
Yeah. So as soon as I get in the house, I'll lead them right to the table. Before I show my license or anything, like I'm looking at them dead in the eye. What was your main concern when you sent that request in? And then if they're
What's the
quiet for
typical
that,
response you get from that?
uh, it varies. Like some people are just like, I don't know, I've just never got anything like this in place. Some people say straight up, I just want my final expenses not to be a burden on anybody. And then I'll be like, perfect. That's why most people send them in. They just want to make sure when the time comes that their burial cremation doesn't fall a burden on their loved ones. It seems like that's what you're looking for. Yeah, perfect. Okay, and then who would that person be? And then I'm sort of digging into the why pretty early, because I think the why is very important in the home. If you don't find the why, it's going to be very hard to close them. So whether it's their son, siblings, spouse, loved ones, once I find that out, I'm like, perfect. I'll show them my license. I'll show them the credibility sheet. This is a list of all the A-rated carriers we're contracted with. And we specialize in a few things like mortgage protection, final expense programs, life insurance, and future income planning. Today, we're here for the final expense programs. Yeah. And then I'll pull out the client suitability sheet, the financial inventory sheet, and I'll tell them this is going to help me best guide how to serve your family. We're going to spend a minute or so on your self-financial situation that we make sure everything's affordable and within the budget. And I like to tell them, like, typically we don't have a problem with that because these are designed for people on a fixed and low income. And they'll say, great, just like me. And then I'll say, we'll spend 2 minutes on your health. This is going to help me navigate which one of these carriers is going to give you the approval at the end of the application. Does that make sense? Yeah,
Yep.
Perfect.
So you mentioned in the beginning, the most important part of the appointment is the first 10 minutes you spend in it going over structure, but also figuring out the why. So what are some phrases you're looking for, or like how do you know once you've found the why with someone? And like what are some questions to help lead you there? Because I remember when I was new, people were like, hey, just ask more questions to find the why, right? And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, you're speaking Spanish to me, bro. So like, what do you do to like what are you looking for where you're like, okay, they definitely need something. I know why I'm here. This is what problem it's going to solve.
Yeah. So some more questions to dig into the why. Like as soon as I'm looking at that sheet, I'll ask them, like, God forbid, if you were to pass yesterday, who would be picking up the pieces? My daughter, Janet. Do you plan on being buried or cremated? Buried. Do you guys have $16,000 to come out of pocket for that? No. Does your daughter? No. Perfect. That's why most people put this in place.
And then you're just getting a clear problem, and then you're going, okay, cool. Like we can solve that really easily. Make sure this is not laying, this burden's not falling on your daughter's shoulders, right?
Yeah. And I just want them to constantly tell me pretty much like, yes, that's what I want.
Cool.
And
now for everyone doing this virtually or phone sales wise, do you change anything with how you set up the presentation, or is it all basically the same up to that point, and then you just are doing it over the phone?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty much just the same. You actually got to find the why really early in the phone call. There's not too much time to build rapport on there because it's so easy for them to just click it, and you just got to be real upfront on the phone. Got to let them know, you're going to submit the application. You'll need some sensitive information, and make sure you send them your license and stuff like that as well.
Perfect. All right. So obviously you've done really well since you started here. If you could go back, what's one thing you would change, early on in the business to help you write more business as a producer, do you think?
Book more appointments, because now I realize, especially just mainly running in the field is, although I book, 50, 55 appointments in a week, that doesn't mean I'm sitting with 50, 55 people. So I really wish I would have done that early on, but I feel like, that has helped my growth earlier. And then if I could have gotten into mail a little earlier, that wouldn't be a problem, but I think I was having some pretty good success with the internet leads.
Yeah, no doubt. And if anyone's like, I don't know how to do this and have the budget for it, like get with your manager and they can help you set something like that up very easily, right? All right. And then the last thing I want to ask you about, I remember early on, you said a lot of appointments, you had a lot of no-shows, right? So what are some things you do now to qualify the appointments, make sure they're going to be there when you set an appointment with them, make sure they're going to be home, or if you're doing over Zoom, make sure they show up to the Zoom appointment, because not all appointments are created equal. If you go, I should be home at 1, all right, cool, I'll try to swing over at 1. Like that's not, but if you go, hey, you're definitely be home at 1, I need you to have your ID, check, like whatever you say to get them to make sure they're going to be there and be serious for the appointment. What are a couple of tips you can give people to eliminate their no-shows, or at least decrease their no-shows a lot?
Yeah. So what has helped me a lot is like at the very end, I'll have them write down my name, my state license number, the date and time of our appointment. Because when someone writes something down, they're more likely going to remember it. And then I do like to ask them like right before I hang up, like, hey, if we are able to get you approved for these programs, who would be your beneficiary? And that already right there just gets their mind going. And I think I learned that from Michael Herman at the convention. And I feel like that's drastically changed my no-show ratio as well. And then I like to just ask him, like, is there any reason why you wouldn't be home, at 2, 3 p.m.? No, I'll be there. I'll be home all day and stuff like that. That helps a lot.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you for jumping on. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and keep it right at 30 minutes. We appreciate you getting on. If everyone got something out of this, go ahead and put a 1 in the chat to give Mahmoud some love. We appreciate you, man, and everyone's looking up to you. And thank you so much for sharing with us. And we're looking forward to seeing everyone who was the contest winners this month. And again, next month, we'll announce something before the month begins. It'll be a 5-week month. We're going to do something to try to include everyone, just so everyone can start thinking about it. Everyone who issues at least 30 policies for the month will be invited. So, start getting some traction going. We'd love to get everyone out, bring everyone together and really start, building the team up and building that camaraderie together. So Mahmoud, thank you. Thank you for everything you do for us, man. And appreciate you all for getting on today.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks. See y'all.